Welcome back. In this video, we're going to look at how to insert a number of things into a page in new Google Sites. And we'll look at text boxes, images, uploads, and I'll forewarn you that both of these really have to do with images. I'm not sure if the technology will be built out later, but this upload really refers to images at this point. You can also embed a URL or a web link directly. We'll also look at this little divider feature. Okay, so to start with, let's start with a text box. If I simply click, it creates a text box for me in the next available space on the page. As before, I can decide to make this smaller or larger, and by changing the ends, I can position it on the page. Okay, and I can simply type text in there. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my text, and as before I can make it a title, a heading, or a subheading. Now the title should really be reserved for the banner, and the heading should be for major sections within the document. Okay, when I come to the next section, when I click down on the line below, you can see that it's normal text. And let me just copy and paste that a couple of times to populate it as if it was a paragraph. When I hit enter, I do get a new paragraph, and you'll notice that a new paragraph involves additional space. If you've used or designed web pages before, you may know of a character called a break, and that's where you can insert something without additional space. Normally on a computer you do that by holding the Shift key and hitting enter, but you'll notice that Google Sites does not allow that. Okay, so there will be no breaks. The page needs to flow as it would naturally, and that's a design feature that takes into account that this page will likely be viewed on different types of devices. The increase in mobile viewing, which has been going on for years, has really changed page design, because these designs have to be responsive now and flow from one device to another. Okay, you can of course, within a section, let me just type some things here, item 1, item 2, item 3, and you have a couple of options for formatting. One would be to make them into a numbered list, to make them into a bulleted list, to take some text out of your paragraph and create it as a hyperlink. Okay, so there's a hyperlink in the document. We also do still have alignment features, and unfortunately my text isn't going to show it very well. But you could go to a justified. You can see that I've justified. And notice that I justified simply that paragraph. So you can make these alignment adjustments. Now that's aligned left, that's aligned center, which would be a very bad idea. But notice that it is by paragraph. And of course you have some basic settings such as italicizing or bolding if you wanted to call attention to a particular piece of text. Notice that these tools are very, very simple. You don't have the option to change font color here or anything like that. Again, I don't know if this will ever be built out, but in a way it's good because it forces you to stay with the theme or with the design of the page. Sometimes people start making ad hoc changes, little changes here and there, and it disturbs the continuity of the site. Okay, so those are your basic features. The only other features that are available right now is if you come to the extra here, you can put a strike through. Also, and I'm going to add a piece of text here, and I'm going to take the bullet off it, and let's pretend that I was showing you something about some coding, some HTML. And so always with web pages, when you're displaying coding, there are special features, and here will be coding font, and it just changes it to a monospace font and makes it look slightly different than the rest. Okay, it might be a little hard to see, but it makes it look a little different than the rest to indicate that this is an example of code. Those are your basic options. The block itself has a couple of options. One is I can put an emphasis on it. So emphasis 1 in this case is taking on this blue color. Emphasis 2 is darker. Or I could decide to do an image either by selecting it. And notice it's adjusting now for readability. And there it darkened up my image so that my text displayed more clearly. Or I could upload my own image. And this will be a terrible image. Something very inappropriate for the background, but we'll put it in there. And you can always go in and change that back to whatever you'd like. Okay, let's click below, and we're going to insert an image now. Notice that takes me to an interface for my Google Drive. So I can either put the URL of an image in, so let's try that. I'm going to go to images.google.com. I'll search for, say, DaVinci. And I will say view image. That's going to get me the address of the image itself, not of the web page. And I can copy that, put that in there, and select it, and now the image appears. Now I have a couple of options. They're pretty simple at this point. One is to crop, and the crop at this point really is zoom. And I can recenter as I like so I get just the part of the image that I want. This button is to uncrop it, so that will restore the image to its original form. Now this being said, I might very well take this image and crop it in another program and just upload it as the portion that I wanted, because I have more options when I do that. Now this is a hyperlink option. Because this is already really a link to an image that's out on the web, this feature is not going to really apply here. Okay, so I want to avoid that one. If I upload an actual image, I can use this. Of course, I can trash, and if I trash, it's going to trash the entire section. You can see that my section goes full width of the page. And other options I have would be to replace the image, so it brings me back to a place I can upload or select, or to add alt text, and this is very important. Alt text provides an aid to visually impaired users so that they're getting a description of what the picture is as the page loads or as they're scrolling through the page. So, do the undo button there. Now with alt text, it's important that this go in standard English. So you want your spaces, etc., because a visually impaired user may be using a screen reader that will identify this as an image and then read back the description. Now this block can contain more than one image. If I go back to images, you can see that I've already done it by URL, but I could also just search for an image here. I'll just take this one. And I can resize these images within this space. I can also go to My Albums, so things that I have up on Google, or I can go to my Google Drive directly. Different ways I can get images. Now while I'm here, let's jump down to the Upload button. because the upload button allows me to go to my desktop and open up images directly. You could change this to a different type of file, but I have to tell you that for right now, if you do, you're going to get an error if you try to, say, upload a JPEG or a Word doc or something like that. It's going to have to be an image. So you might as well leave it set the way that it is, and here's something that really doesn't fit. Okay, there's not room for that image there, so it goes to a new line. Of course, I could change the sizes of the existing images and make them fit in there nicely like that. Okay, last thing I'd like to show you here is I'm going to click below that box and I'm going to embed a URL. It can be anything. Now, this is giving me a message. It's saying that it will only show the link since no additional information was made available by the website. Let's add that and see what it looks like. So it's just a hyperlink. Let me click another one and try it with something different. Now, this particular website is providing a graphic also. So you can see that this is a link. And as a matter of fact, let's make this narrower and drag this one up here. Whoop. In this context, it frankly doesn't make a lot of sense to have the Google link next to it, but you could put a series of links next to it if you wanted. And then if I go to preview this now, you'll notice that the graphic and this link at the bottom both link out to the site and open it in a new tab. If I use this link where the graphic was not provided by the website, it just opens to that site in a new tab. Okay, let me close up the preview. And one more thing. One more feature here is they do have this divider, which is a holdover from web design from the first minute. I mean, this has always been divided here. It's a horizontal line. You'll see that you don't have a lot of options as far as how to format it. It's just a very light horizontal line, but it is a tool that could allow you to section the page a little bit. Now, last thing I'd like to show you before we complete this particular video is that once the components are in here, they're modular. So I can grab this link section and I can move it up, and it now appears above my section of images. Okay, and that really covers it for the basic features you can insert here in the components. In the next video, we'll look at things you can get from Google Drive, and then the other inserts are basically shortcuts to various things that you can produce through Google, such as YouTube, Calendar, Map, Docs. So we'll look at those also.